everyone, welcome back to my channel. I thought I would do a tutorial with the items I bought from the Sephora VIB Spring Bonus event. And I did a blog post, I'll link that below, of the items I bought from the event. It was a good one. It was a good haul, I have to say. It was like a mix of some hair, fragrance, skincare, a little bit of everything, and makeup. So I thought I would do the makeup in a tutorial just so you can see it in action. And so my face is bare, so we're going to start with a primer that I picked up. But let's first do skincare, so I thought I would just do a run through quickly of the skincare that I used this morning. My Strivectant Moisture Matrix Cleanser. It's a melting cleanser. I like this to remove makeup or in the morning as a first cleanse. It's such a beautiful, beautiful formula. Then I go in with my Fresh Rose Deep Hydration Facial Toner. Love this stuff. And this was in my Sephora recommendations video. Then the Fresh Vitamin Nectar Antioxidant Glow Water. I really love this. Like I said before, mist is a mist. But this, it does kind of like revive my skin. It makes my skin look very awake and fresh and kind of revitalized. So, I mean, a mist is a mist, but this feels like a little bit something extra to me. Then the eye cream, eye essence that I've been using is the La Prairie Skin Caviar Essence. I'm like almost out. And it just really helps to hydrate the eye area, but also really firm it, which I love. And then I have really been enjoying this. It's the Pixie Rose Caviar Essence. But it's like a jelly texture, but I use it as a hydrating serum because it breaks apart literally into a serum. It's very cooling. First of all, it feels wonderful on the skin. But next, I really feel like my skin gets a lot of moisture from it. And I notice on the days that I'm using it, my skin is very hydrated all day long. And it just feels wonderful. I actually use it morning and night. And I've really been liking how it's feeling. Sorry, I have another hair. It's like somewhere on me. There it is. I got it. And next, the Tatcha Violet C Brightening Serum. I love this vitamin C serum. I shared it in my Sephora recommendations video. And then I finish off with my SPF for the day. I use the Revive Broad Spectrum SPF 50. And the texture of this, it's not as great as the Sicily. Okay, that is like gold standard, and for good reason, because it's an arm and a leg, costs an arm and a leg. But the texture of this is very creamy. It does not feel like an SPF at all. It really has. That's why I didn't use a moisturizer today, because when I use that sunscreen, I don't need one. And then lips, I just put on my Sicily Fido Lip Twist Lip Balm. If you've never tried this, it's lovely. And that's it. So I will first start with my Tatcha primer. This I picked up during the event. I don't know, it's been on my list for a while to try, and I kind of went back and forth, and I was like, I think I'm going to try it. So it comes with this little kind of spatula thing you can use to kind of scoop out the product. I sometimes use too much when I do it that way, so I just like to use my hand, and I just apply it all over the face. It's a gorgeous blurring primer. Like, it creates a silk canvas. Really helps to blur imperfections, minimize the look of pores, helps to mattify the skin. For me, my makeup lasts a long time, so I didn't notice any exceptional properties to it where it makes my foundation last a lot longer, because my foundation already does, so it didn't make a difference for me that way. But if any of you have used it and it does help your foundation last longer, definitely let me know. But I just found that it really smooths out the skin lovely and just helps to kind of blur imperfections, takes down a little bit of redness. I normally I put it onto the skin and I let it just set for like a minute or so before I go in with my foundation. And it makes everything so smooth. I mean, it just feels lovely, first of all. And some days, I just use it sometimes in my T-zone. Today I used it all over, but if I'm just kind of feeling it in my T-zone, I don't know, some days I just kind of like put it there because that's where I have the largest pores and that's where they're the most visible, so I kind of will concentrate it there. But I have used it all over the skin, and I absolutely love the way it looks all over. So moving on next to foundation. I'm going to be using the Dior Forever foundation. This is the matte one. Got a new beauty blender. Oh, I've shared this before, my little beauty blender holder. It's from Amazon. I'll link it below. It's so cute. I mean, it's just like, I like because it's, there's air can get to your beauty blender, so it helps your beauty blender to stay dry or not to get any type of mold or anything, so air can get to it. Still loving this foundation. It's such a good foundation. Like I said, I use the matte shade. The matte formula. I have the shade 0N, which I find works perfectly with my skin tone. I tried the 1N, which was okay, but I probably could wear it during the summer when I do more spray tans and that sort of thing. But I liked 0N and just adding a little bit of bronzer. It's great coverage. It's matte. You know, it's not as matte, however, as the Dior Backstage. I used that the other day and I was like, okay, if you got oily skin, especially in the summer, in the heat and humidity, I wore it the other day when I was out and it was a hot day. And I took Miles around the neighborhood and I was pushing him in this little car. And I came back in and I was like, why does my foundation still look almost matte? Like it looked healthy and fresh, but I hadn't put any powder on it. It was pretty miraculous. And I forgot how beautiful that foundation is in the summertime and how great it wears as a matte formula. All right, so let me just finish kind of applying my foundation. I know I kind of like, sometimes it's annoying to kind of keep watching me like dab. So I'm just gonna like touch up a little bit more and then we'll come back and do my concealer. Foundation is done. Then I'm going to go in with the Marc Jacobs, what is it, Accomplice Concealer? Is that what it's called? I think so, I like forgot already. I talked about it in my recommendations video. I'm wearing the shade Fair 16. Creamy stick formula. Listen, it's not as much coverage as my Too Faced. It's not as fabulous as my Too Faced, but it's really nice. So the fact that I even kept it was a big deal because I love that Too Faced. It's very fresh on the skin. It's a little bit less coverage, which I'm fine with, but it just makes my under eye area look very smooth. And for a stick concealer, that's really impressive, I have to say. So that goes under the eyes. I'm going to use a little bit of a setting powder, but a little bit later. And, okay, so I got my primer, foundation, concealer. I'm like, where am I going next? Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer. Went back to this. I was using that Sephora Jumbo Eye Pencil. I go back and forth, but I really want you to see the color of the shadow that I'm using today. So that's why I went with the Urban Decay Primer Potion, because I didn't want anything on my lid to distort the eyeshadow color that I'm showing today in any way. Let me do my brows next. So the Hourglass Brow Pencil. I use the shade Ash. I go between Soft Brunette and Ash. Someone asked me this, what shade I use. I go between Ash and Soft Brunette. They look very similar. Ash is a little bit bolder, so I prefer to wear that when I'm filming because it does look a little bit stronger, but I can still wear it out and about. But it's more when I like really have a full face. And Soft Brunette is great for every day. Brows are all done. I just had them threaded recently, so I feel like my brows are like back to life. You guys ever, once you get your brows done, whether it's waxed or tweezed or threaded, don't you feel like a brand new person? I do. Brand new person. The shadow I'm going to use is the Pat McGrath Labs in Celestial. And the formula is beautiful. Where are my brushes here? I've got all my Space and K brushes that I'm going to use here, except for this one flat brush. This is a Chantecaille flat brush. It's very glittery, but no fallout. When I first looked at it, especially in the case, I was like, that's going to be a chunky mess. It's going to be a chunky mess. No. In fact, it's like chunky in the case here. Like when there's little bits that kind of go all over, but there's little to no fallout on the lid. It's such a beautiful color. It's a little bit darker than a champagne, Great for every day. I mean, unless you don't like shimmer for the day, then this would not be for you. But I love it. I think it's such an easy color. It's like one of those like one and done shadows. You guys know I'm like the queen of the one shadow look. And this is one of those colors. So I'll throw that on the lid. Just go back and forth, really easy. Sometimes I want something a little bit more in the crease. So I'm going to use actually one of my purchases from the sale, my Fenty bronzer in the shade Inda Sun. And I'm going to use that a little bit in the crease. I love using bronzers in the crease. Talked about that before. And just kind of dab it and go back and forth in the crease. It just adds a little bit of warmth. I don't often like using a shimmer shade in the crease. I feel like it can be a little, I don't know. I don't love the way it looks. I prefer more of a matte or satin shade in the crease rather than a shimmer shade. So I'm just going to keep going back and forth, blending this. I just put it right there, windshield wiper it in. Just gives a little bit of warmth, a little bit of definition. However, most days I will just throw the color on my lid and be done with it. But I just wanted to show you a little bit something extra. So I'm going to keep blending that and we'll come back and go to lashes. I'm going to do a mix of the Marc Jacobs primer and my Lancome Monsieur Big mascara. And the Marc Jacobs primer I do first, just coats the lashes. I don't let it dry too much though. I don't like wait a few minutes and then have it dry. I find like it makes it too difficult to layer. So I prefer to do both eyes and then I'll come in with the mascara and build it on top. And basically it just coats the lashes. It makes them white almost. I don't know if you can see it. And I just think it adds a little bit of volume, length, everything. It's really, really impressed me. Then moving in with the Lancome mascara, which I just adore. And all right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just keep building that up because you guys don't need to see how many coats I add. A little boring. Normally about 4 to 5 coats of this, which I know sounds like a lot, but to me, like one swipe isn't good. One swipe never does it for any of my mascaras. I kind of like go back a few different times, maybe 4 or 5 times. So let me go ahead and add the mascara and then we'll move on to the rest of the face. All right, lashes are done and added some pressed powder from my Charlotte Tilbury Glowing Skin Compact. Some of you asked me, is this really worth it? Yeah. I've used this. I mean, it's just the palette I always go back to. Between the contour and the pressed powder and the blushes and the highlighters, I love it all. All right, moving on to cheeks. You guys know how I feel about my Becca Bali Sands Sunlit Bronzer in Bali Sands. I'm like, it's one of the best. The formula's fantastic. There's so many great shades. It's pretty foolproof. It just goes on so light. You can build it up. It's never too. Well, I found something that I like just as much. Fenty Beauty's new bronzers. Listen, I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is gonna be like, you know, a decent. No, it's phenomenal. The color, it's not super matte, but it's like a soft matte. The color is perfection. What I love about it is it's so light and really finely milled that it goes on like a little bit of nothing, which I love. Because if you're very fair like me and you just don't want to have to spend your whole time blending out your bronzer, you're like, oh, I added too much. This is the bronzer for you. It is gorgeous. And like I said, there's hardly any shimmer to it, which I was kind of like, I like a little bit of shimmer in the summer in my bronzer. No. I just love it. Can you even see it? Because it looks beautiful in person. Now I just use it on my cheeks to kind of warm them up. And at first, I will say, the first time I used it, I was kind of like, I don't know, do I really like this? Am I loving the color? And then after a few minutes, I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh, I really like it. And then the next day I went back to it, or the next day I went to another bronzer and I was like, okay, that wasn't as good as my Fenty. Like, it's not applying as beautifully as my Fenty. I'm really like just sold. Fantastic. That probably is going to go in my Best of Beauty. I'm really thinking that's going to go in my Best of Beauty. Highlighter, we're going to use the Laura Mercier Matte Radiance Highlight, which is gorgeous. It's just a good, I'm sorry, I'm looking in the mirror over there. You guys will be like, where is she going? Sorry, I'm looking in the mirror over there, which I shouldn't do because I have a mirror right here, and that's annoying. It's just a little bit of, well, it doesn't look little bit there. It looks pretty bold there, but in person, it's a matte radiance. It's kind of like this understated glow on the cheeks, which is beautiful. Next, going in with my NARS Lost in Luster palette. I'm going to use the blush in this. Still love it so much. In fact, it was one of my top selling items on my blog over the past month, so obviously many of you loved it as well. And the blush color is just perfect, just perfection. And such a good formula, not too shimmery. I mean, I find myself using the eyeshadows and the highlighter color more on the eyes. The eyeshadows and the highlighter I use on the eyes, and then the blush on the cheeks. The highlighter for my cheeks, it's too intense, which I was kind of bummed out at first, but I ended up using it on the eyes and like it better there, so it's not a color that I won't use. All right, so yes, really loving everything that's coming together. It's very, it's feeling very summery, but it's more matte skin because I put on that powder, but you can kind of leave that off if you want your skin to be a little dewier. And Tom Ford Sheer Lip Color in Kariakou. I don't know how to pronounce it. You're probably going to be like, Mary, that's not even close. It got smushed in the top of my thing here, which I'm kind of bummed about, but it's okay. You can still get the color. Oh, yeah. This is the kind of coral that I love to wear in the summer. This is exactly the kind of coral I want to wear. It's not too bright. It's not too neon. It's not too anything. Not too like obnoxious. Yes. This is the coral that you need in your life. Especially if you want to try, sorry, there's like a little bit in there that's sticking out. Especially if you're used to wearing more peachy lip colors, but you want something a little bit brighter for summer and really to brighten up your face. I feel like the lip color instantly warms up my face and just brightens everything up. And especially with the eyes and that bronzer. Hoping you can see it because it is everything. I have a feeling this is really going to put a lot of my bronzers aside. Like, I still really love my Becca Bali Sands Sunlit Bronzer in Bali Sands, but I don't know, the smoothness of it really got me. And it's the color. It's not orange, it's not brown, it's golden. And it's, for someone like myself that's very fair, bronzers really scare me sometimes because I'm putting on way too much and then I have to worry about taking it off. Nope, absolutely smooth and really goes on light, and you can just build up to however intensely you want to. And the Tatcha Silk Canvas, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I feel like it would be great for most skin types because it just helps to blur imperfections and really kind of minimize the look of pores. And I mean, it gives a little bit mattifying properties, but not a ton for me. I just more like the way it makes my skin look. And okay, so I'll link everything I talked about down below, as well as my skincare, and then the post of the Sephora items that I bought from the Sephora Spring Bonus event. You guys need to see all the things that I purchased and my thoughts on them. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.